Hey everybody, it's me. Um, uh, as you all know, it's the most wonderful time of the year. And as you can tell by the title of this podcast, I tend to be in the minority when it comes to that feeling about the most wonderful time of the year. I'm not fond of Christmas anymore. When I was a kid, I loved Christmas. When I was a teenager, I liked Christmas. Then I grew up and then I went into the crazy, insane world of retail. And over the course of years, having worked many holidays, some where I would never get a day off, I unfortunately began to hate Christmas. Not the holiday itself, not the, quote, real reason for the season, unquote. But it's awfully hard to celebrate a holiday when the very people claiming that they're celebrating the holiday act in complete and opposite ways that you're supposed to celebrate the holiday. I worked at Rose's Stores, a small chain here in the Mid-Atlantic region, in the 90s. I worked at Walmart from 2007 to 2012. I saw plenty of Black Fridays. I saw plenty of weekend sales. I saw plenty of craziness. I didn't hate it so much when I was at Rose's. We were small, and even though I worked a lot and kind of got tired of, usually around after we closed on Christmas Eve, I finally was able to get in the holiday spirit. Walmart changed that. And I'm not blaming Walmart for this, at least not directly. I think this has been going on way before Walmart even became a thing. I think this has been going on for a lot longer than we realize. You hear some people complain about Christmas becoming too commercialized. It's been way too much commercialized for decades now. We're more worried about what we're going to get somebody for a Christmas present than we are about the quote-unquote reason for the season. It has become, like a lot of holidays, an excuse to shop, an excuse to travel. And having gone, and there's not one particular experience that kind of broke the camel's back. It's sort of the proverbial death by 1,000 cuts. There were so many incidents, great and small, that kind of made me really begin to hate this holiday. And I don't like having to say that. I don't like having to be the guy that says, I hate Christmas. But I have to say that because I try to be honest and forthright with you as an audience. And the truth is, I despise Christmas. Mainly because I see the hypocrisy of it. Not in the true believers, not in the quote-unquote reason for the season. But it's become kind of phony at times. The reason I say that is I've seen it too often. I'll hear somebody go, why do people shop so much for the holiday? Don't they know that there's a reason for the season? And they themselves are doing the very thing they claim to be protesting against in that particular moment. I mean, it's not like I've had my mom I found out my mom had terminal cancer right before Christmas of 2006. We found out my grandfather had terminal cancer before Christmas of 1993. It's not those are two reasons I'm not too fond of the holiday, but that's not the main reason why I don't like the holiday. We all have pain, we all have loss. It's just, for retail workers, you know what I'm talking about. You know, having to deal with the public, how painful it can be sometimes, especially during this holiday season. When you feel like you've been reduced to a humiform robot, not deserving of any respect, not deserving of any compassion, just something to be yelled at. And there is this proverbial stereotype of Karens and Chads that's out there right now. And unfortunately, it's been true for a very long time. It's just social media and the ability for people to be on camera quite a lot has exposed it. I've been cursed out in retail more often than I care to talk about. There are times when I have literally been so mad at the way I was treated that I wanted to punch a wall. Some people will say, well, that you signed up for it. True. Just because someone signs up for something doesn't mean they should be treated like garbage. Just because a soldier signs up to defend this country does not mean we should just willy-nilly throw them into combat without a damn good reason. Just because someone's working in retail does not give you the right to treat them as if you found them underneath the rock, as if they were something that the dog pooped out from dinner the night before. During this holiday season, I can't help but think of the people in retail and fast food and other customer service industries. I was once part of them. For all I know, I may be part of them again one of these days. I don't know. I hope not. Frankly, I don't ever want to work in retail or work with the public ever again. At least to that particular. My current job, I do have some responsibility and I dare say authority, not much, but it's something, to where the public, the exposure to the public is rather limited and rather specific, so people tend to treat me better there. But they should treat you well anywhere. When I'm out, if I have a problem, I talk about it like how I would want to be treated. And I'm compassionate, I understand people make mistakes, things happen. If you don't have something in, it's not your fault. You're not the one that ordered it. Even if you were the one that ordered it, stuff happens. I've been cursed out over Wii's. I've been cursed out over Furbies. I've been cursed out over PlayStation 3, 4 games. Well, maybe not 4. I think I left before 4 came out. I've been cursed over things that, quite frankly, it baffles me anyone would complain about it, but I did. And yet we're told constantly by people, Jesus is the reason for the season. That may be so, but a lot of people tend to forget that when they cross the threshold of Walmart or their other favorite retail store or whatever. And they act like somebody who forgets the teachings of Jesus Christ. I've seen it way too much. That's why, in many ways, I'm a cynic. I don't like being a cynic. I'd rather not be a cynic. But I've seen too much. This is not a season I like. I don't like Christmas music, mainly because I heard so much of it in my retail days. It just drives me nuts. I don't like Christmas movies because it just makes me feel phony. Makes it just feel phony. Some of you will vehemently disagree with that. That's your right. I don't have a problem with it. But I want you to understand that if you have bad customer service, it's not necessarily because of you. A lot of retail establishments and fast food establishments are horrendously understaffed. And this was going on way before the pandemic. They're stressed out, they're working so many hours, and inconsistent hours, and all of this. I was one of them once. And the thing they don't tell you is that many retail people, especially places like Walmart, know that after the holiday season, hours are going to be cut. And they know this because they can't spend like they can on Christmas. Here's the thing. And I want to get this off my chest because it's one of those deals that there are a lot of good things about the holiday season. I will admit that. People are more charitable. People outside of the shopping arena can be friendlier. But having been in that arena, having worked in retail establishments, I've seen how some people who present themselves as being good people aren't. That's why I'm cynical. That's why I don't take people at face value anymore. It's just the way it is. I'm not Scrooge or anything like that, or the Grinch, but I'm a realist. And quite honestly, we have allowed this holiday to become commercialized. We've allowed ourselves to turn something that was supposed to be a great time to show us how we could be the best people we can be, but yet it's shown us we could be the absolute worst. And yet people don't want to look at that. They want to hide away. They want to watch saccharine sweet Hallmark movies and pretend that that's the reality, when the truth is it's a lot different than that. I'm not here to kill your Christmas spirit. I'm here to kind of show you that it needs work. It needs reform. It needs to be looked at. We had a chance last year to really have that moment of reflection. We could do it this year. The holiday had to be changed because of circumstances with the pandemic. But people wanted to overcome it. Some did, some didn't. Some did and paid the price later on. Now we deal with supply chain issues. We have shortages. We have inflation and all of this. We want to place blame on people. And of course, you can place the blame on politicians and presidents and business people and all that. But we forget that gifts aren't the reason for the season. You don't have to get that special person that particular gift. If they devalue you because you don't get them the exact gift that they want, that's not a you problem, it's a they problem. And that's why I say this holiday isn't what it once was. Now, why is that? It's not because of secularism. It's because, quite frankly, the very people who claim to embrace it, the religious part of it, are also the ones embracing the commercial part of it. And I've seen that myself. Why am I such a critic about this? Because I want to go back to the way it felt when I was a kid. And it isn't like that anymore. And it makes me mad because we could be better than that. We should be better than that, but we're not. The problem is you've got a lot of people who don't recognize that, who aren't self-aware that things aren't the way that they are because they have allowed themselves to become entrapped in this belief that they got to go constantly shopping, get the right gift, spend all this money, blah, 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 blah. And I've done that mistake myself. Spent way too much on Christmas. And we excuse it going, well, it's, you can get your, climb out of that particular hole, blah, 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 and things will be better. Without recognizing it's not so much a financial thing, it's why are we only compassionate this time of the year? It should be more compassionate all whole time of the year. Why is it we have a lot of stuff, oh my God, we got to get the right gift for the boss or the co-workers and all this? Because, I mean, if I were a person in power, I would not want my employees to get me any gifts because I'd rather them spend their money on their family, but that's me. If they do, that's fine. But, you know. But a lot of this is because of what I saw in retail. It made me very cynical. It's one of those things that you could say, oh, you're just too sensitive and all this. Maybe. Or maybe I see things clearly that most people don't or won't. Earlier this morning, I was on Twitter and I remarked on somebody and I said to myself, in this society today, we are lacking in self-awareness and lacking in introspection. We claim we're exceptional. We claim we're the best thing in the world today, even when the facts don't back it up. And when you're not the best at something, you're normally supposed to try and be the best. If you want to be the best, you find out what's wrong, you fix it. Like a team, like a football team or any other sports team, you're supposed to try and fix it. Instead, we yell louder and louder, hey, we're the greatest thing in the world today. Woohoo. Christmas is a prime example of why we have a lot in society we need to fix. There are people who will say, well, let's just return to Jesus, return to God, blah, blah, blah. No. It's a lot more complicated than that because in many ways, that's part of the problem. Because there's a lot of issues with that institution, those institutions. And I will get to that in another podcast down the road. And why I'm cynical about that. And I have a very good reason for being cynical about that. But what I want to talk about to wrap this up is I want you to understand that those of us who are not necessarily full of the Christmas holiday spirit and all this, who roll our eyes when anybody talks about the quote-unquote war on Christmas, that get annoyed at people who get mad when somebody says Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas, or I should say, who roll our eyes at people who get mad that somebody says Happy Holidays and not Merry Christmas. it's because we're taking away from the reason for the holiday to begin with. We've allowed ourselves to become divided about this holiday season because you've got some people who have an agenda to divide people. Maybe on both sides. When I was a kid, saying season's greetings, happy holidays, Merry Christmas was all one and the same. You know what they meant. Now, for some reason, 15, 20 years ago, people got bent out of shape if you said happy holidays or season's greetings. For no good reason. And we never explain why. Because there are certain people who want us to be mad. Who want us to get bent out of shape. That how dare somebody not say the proper, when reality is it means the same deadgum thing. There are a lot of other holidays this season than just Christmas. It's supposed to be a time of joy and celebration and all this. And too many have allowed it to become anything but that. We don't want to look at that. Because we have a habit in this country, and not just in this country, but in other countries as well, not just English-speaking countries, Europe, Australia, Japan to a plenty degree, that we've allowed ourselves to become so caught up in our own BS. And that's part of the problem. We, especially in this country, it's no longer about we, it's about me. And I'm old enough to have seen that pattern. I wish I wasn't. I wish I was blind to it, but unfortunately I'm not. Because it's as apparent as my nose on my face. So when I say bah humbug, it's not about the holiday itself, the original intent of the holiday. It's because of what the holiday has become. This over-commercialized, over-hyped, overindulgent holiday. And I'll freely admit, maybe part of the reason is that I've allowed myself to become that way. That I've allowed the years in retail to make me cynical. I should have left years ago. You're probably right. But that doesn't take away the fact that thousands upon thousands of retail workers in this country will probably agree with me in part or in whole about what I've said. And I'm not celebrating that fact. Truth be told, I wish I was wrong. But I'm not. And I hate the fact that I'm not wrong. My hope was that the pandemic would be a great time of reflection and change in society. We're getting change to a certain degree. Some of it needed, some of it unneeded. Some of it the direct opposite of where we need to go. The problem is with Christmas is we haven't learned any lessons. We're still spending way too much money on gifts that will be forgotten by the time Valentine's Day rolls around, if not before, even sooner than that, maybe by the time Martin Luther King Day rolls around. So that's why I'm cynical. To me, we've all allowed it to become about impressing people, our kids, our parents, our friends, our family, our significant others, with what we get them for the holidays. And not who we are as people. That's the problem. we have ignored the reason for the season, but bring it up because we want to comfort ourselves. Yeah, we're still celebrating the reason for the season in our words, but not necessarily in our deeds. Maybe one of these days we'll realize this and back away from this over-commercialization. That we'll realize that we need to take time away from this madness of merchandising for the holidays, which, having been there, I can tell you as soon as Christmas is over with, there will be plans started for next Christmas. And in fact, there are people right now who are already working on next Christmas. And unfortunately, that won't change anytime soon. So enjoy your Christmas music, enjoy your Christmas movies. I'm not going to tell you not to. That wouldn't be right. But allow me not to indulge in that because I'm not of the Spirit right now. I'll get there eventually. But right now, I'm thinking of the people in Walmart and Target and other retail stores and fast food establishments and restaurants and all that who are having to deal with people who claim to be of the Christmas spirit, but yet will go full carrot or full Chad if the least little thing goes wrong. Like maybe they don't have a particular order right, or the food isn't prepared the way they want. And instead of doing the smart thing and being politely saying, hey, this steak, I'm sorry to bother you, but this steak is not done the way I wanted it to. Could you please fix it? And all this. Instead, they have to yell and scream and belittle and humiliate. You want to prove the reasons for the season? You want to prove it's the reason for the season? Start acting like it. In your actions, not your words. Not just in church, but out in the public. When you're on the job, when you're going to and from the job, when you're in the grocery store, when you're in the very retail establishments I talked about earlier. The old saying goes, actions speak louder than words. Let your actions speak louder than words this holiday season. And show that you have the actual Christmas spirit you claim to have. Let your actions show that Jesus is the reason for the season and not those ads on TV telling you to buy stuff that you don't really need. And in full disclosure, yes, I have done that myself. And I will do that myself. We all do this. We're not perfect people. But we are capable of learning from our mistakes. We need to learn from our mistakes. That there's no shame in admitting when you are wrong. When you have screwed up. You can fix it. And that's what we need to do for the holiday season and for lots of things in general. We need to recognize that we have allowed this quote-unquote wonderful time of the year to become less than wonderful for way too many people. And that perhaps we need to reflect upon that. That maybe by becoming more self-aware and more observant of what's going on in the world, that we can make it the wonderful time of the year again for everybody. And that maybe I can not be the cynic I am now. Thank you for listening. Good day, good luck, and may the good news be yours.